Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Game 5, baby. We still got hoop to look at here as this series heads back to Boston. Obviously, still 3-1 Celtics. We're going to see if the Mavs can keep things going here in the NBA Finals. I've got 6 best bets in this one. You'll kind of notice we're starting to bet a little bit more. I'm turning those leans into plays because I still just want to bet on the NBA. We're being good about it, though. Last game had about 12 bets after the live stream that we have every day that we have games here at 5 p.m. Eastern. Going to be running that back on Monday as well. Picked up about 5 or 6 plays in that last live stream that I really liked. Hit a nice little same game parlay with Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively. Going to have some guests on as well, so make sure you jump in there. Got the schedule floating on the bottom line in case you need to know what that's about. But for now, let's get into Game 5. Quick reminder, we do have the Outlier discount. If you want to get that free trial, go ahead and grab the link that is in the description of the video. This is your one-stop shop for making sure that you can see all the relevant stats that you need and the data around sports betting specifically that helps you get the best value from all the stuff that you're looking at here in the NBA Finals. This is my go-to homepage for when I'm looking up stats as well as during the live stream. We really use Outlier to find everything that we need. Couple other things, obviously NBA advanced stats and some stuff that helps, but this is the best, most efficient way to be finding those props and best angles. So make sure that you do at least check out the free trial in case you want to use it. Available for NBA, but as soon as this NBA season's over, very helpful, just as much so for the MLB, WNBA, as well as NFL as soon as we get into that. So make sure you check out the link in the description of the video to make sure you can get some free Outlier trial access there using the link that's in there. Couple of quick game notes that I want to take away from game 4. Not much that we can use, obviously, because of the fact that it was a blowout and the subs were coming in the third quarter for the Celtics and then eventually in the fourth for the Mavs. But we still know that Dallas is playing whichever center plays best. I believe they would rather have Derek Lively in there over Gafford. But now that we're on the road, Gafford has played much better on the road than Lively has. So it's difficult for me to feel quite as confident. Plus, if Kristaps is in there, Gafford is a better matchup for Kristaps than is Derek Lively, as we saw in game 2 for the most part when Gafford was out there. So it's tough to actually know who J Kidd's going to play. I don't have a bet for either center right now, although I do lean a little bit more towards Gafford getting the playing time in this one over Lively. So keep that in mind. Kristaps is questionable. I still think the gamesmanship is coming out from the Celtics. I really don't know that we're going to see Kristaps in game 5 once again. And even if we do, similar to what they said was going to be the case for him in game 4, I can see this still being like a as needed in a sort of like, press button for emergency and put Kristaps on the floor if things are going awry for the Celtics in game 5, which I don't think they really will be, to be honest. We'll talk about that more in a second, but keep in mind, we do need to know if Kristaps is playing or how available he really is before making too many bets. The bets I do have in right now, I think, are impervious to whether or not that man plays. But Derek Jones Jr., another little thing to watch out here for Dallas. His minutes have been dwindling, as we know. He did get up to about 20 in the last game, but Dante Exum started to get a few more minutes and has looked a lot better on the floor over the last couple games than Derek Jones Jr. has. His DJJ is out there to guard Tatum for the most part, and as he's not been doing as good of a job on defense, hasn't really been rebounding as well, we've started to see some more minutes for Dante Exum. So keep an eye on that in this one as well. And then the other thing here is, if you start to think that because Dallas's back is against the wall, they're just going to come out and start firing and be better again, consider that Boston still went 14 of 41. So that's 14 made threes in game 4, which is really the calling card. If they get up to about 14 to 15 threes made, they should be in a good position to win this game. A lot of those threes came in garbage time when things were sort of out of control for them. I will say they were very bad shooting prior to that, the subs coming in at the end of the game. But it's still something to keep in mind that Boston still has that winning formula where there's a ton of guys that can hit threes for them. I think that'll still be the reason that they probably pull out game 5. So looking at the first bet that I have here, it is a same game parlay. I'm taking Luka under in the points, rebounds, and assists category there, 50.5, combining it with Boston's money line and getting plus 126 on it. If you want to take Luka's unders, go ahead. I think that's the play here, to be honest. But I would add the money line for Boston because I don't see Dallas able to win this game in Boston without superhuman stuff coming from Luka Doncic. So he's gone under this number in 3 of 4 in this series, and the average is at 43.3 points, rebounds, and assists. You can make up excuses all over the place saying this was a blowout and that was a blowout. He's still up above 40 minutes per game in this series, as he has been all playoffs, and still has been failing to go over this number consistently. The 12 dimes that he got in game 2 really pushed him over the edge. Obviously, he got that the triple-double that he had in game 2. Don't think we're going to be seeing too much more of that from Luka, especially as this series wears on. If you use the numbers from the playoffs as a whole, 46.5 PRA combined, under in 13 of the 21 playoff games that he's had so far. And this ain't going to be as easy to get assists for him as we've seen in other series, because this Boston team is not going to switch and they're not going to blitz him. So he's going to be forced to do most of this himself, which he's done pretty well at in the first half. Not necessarily in the second half, which is a huge stat here that really supports him going under in the points, rebounds, and assists in general. 9 points per game and 3 assists per game in the second half of this finals. And that's pretty much been the case for him in this the playoffs as a whole, doing the majority of his damage in the first half of games before wearing down a little bit, which is probably a combination of his not being in as good of a shape as, say, someone like LeBron James, for instance, but also has to do with the fact that he has to do so much himself in the first half to accumulate those points and assists that he's been getting. Makes sense that he'd start wearing down a bit in the second half. Plus, still questionable with that chest injury, so he's probably a little bit hobbled. Adds to all this stuff, but with how consistently he's been going under, combined with the fact that he's going to need to go over if this team is going to pull out another victory in this series, I'm going to combine two things that seem very correlated here, which is Luka under and the Boston Celtics to win this game and concurrently the series. Another under here, and I'm going back to Kyrie because he's back in Boston, which means back to the unders for this man who has struggled mightily to play in Boston over the course of the last 10 games. So he's played 10 games since leaving Cleveland and leaving Boston, I should say, when he plays at TD Garden, where Boston plays their home games. He's gone under in 8 of those last 10 games, right? And it's really the 2 overs were in the playoffs when he was on Brooklyn, and then KD goes down, and it's really just Kyrie doing everything himself. And I think that's going to continue to be an anomaly for him, as you've seen in the last 5 games at TD Garden, 3 of which were a member of the Mavs. 15.5 points per game, 3 dimes, 37 minutes. So it's not like he's really lost time, and that the reason he's gone under is because he wasn't playing. He's been playing the same amount of minutes that he's playing in this series, up about 37 to 40 minutes, and still going under. Plus, if we use the playoffs as a whole, under in 13 of 21 playoff games, 26.6 points and assists combined. So still gets us nicely under this, as he needs 28 or 29 really to get this number here. And he's also been a little bit worse on the road. Like, people have been thinking that this Mavs team and the dynamic duo of Kyrie and Luka has been good everywhere. Not really the case. A few more points per game at home than when he's on the road. So back to these unders for Kyrie, and that doesn't bode well, obviously, for the Dallas Mavericks in Game 5. One more quick reminder too, the Discord is live. So I want to make sure that you guys know about that. Link is in the description of the video. Make sure you go check that out. It's free right now. We got a lot of great stuff, great looks coming in all of these different channels, WNBA and NBA predominantly right now, but the MLB chat is alive as well. Going to be getting into the NFL and everything as we move forward. So don't miss out on the early plays that you're getting here in the Discord, plus the access to all of these brilliant minds and some really good sports bettors that have their own channels in the Discord as well, and just the overall sports channels that are really, really helpful here as you're trying to find every angle possible to make some money off of this sports betting thing. Let's get into some Celtics plays. I've got another under for Jason Tatum here, 43.5 PRA. That's minus 118 on DraftKings, best number that I found for him, especially because it's actually 42.5 PRA on some other books. But this is tough. I mean, this is a very high number for someone who's gone under it in 10 of 12 home games in the playoffs and 12 of 18 games in the playoffs as a whole. But obviously much better numbers when he's played on the road than when he's played at home here, going over in 2 of 6. Still really bad, honestly. And he's averaging 34.4 PRA in the series, under in all 4. Even in the breakout game that he had where he scored the 31 points, still going under this number with the PRA. Part of the reason he's going under in the rebounds lately, which has been specifically the last 2 games, where it used to be that over 9.5 rebounds for Jason Tatum was sort of a given in the postseason. Not the case in the last couple. And the sort of changing factor, that the catalyst, if you will, for why he started going under on the boards, especially, is that Luka is hunting him on offense. And it's weird to think that one of the best defenders on this team is getting hunted by Luka Doncic. But that has been the case in the last couple, where now Jason Tatum has been the primary defender on Luka a lot more because Luka's finding him in the switches that he wants. That's led to much fewer rebounds for Jason Tatum because he's now guarding the guy taking the majority of the shots, or at least making the pass to the person who is taking the shot for Dallas. And that has led to him not having quite nearly as many rebound chances as he was when he was guarding bigs, right? He was guarding Gafford and Lively, even some PJ Washington at times. So guys that were playing a little bit closer to the basket on average. Not the case anymore, as he's gotten switched on to Luka very consistently. So the rebounds have dropped. And as far as the assists, those remain pretty low, because he's not, not necessarily the assists, the free throws and the points have remained low because he's passing more off of his drives, which might lead to a few more assists here and there. But if he's passing off of those drives, then one assist off of those drives is a lot less than 2 points or even 3 points if he gets fouled going to the rim. But with the interior presence of both Lively and Gafford, and the fact that most eyes on the floor are on Jason Tatum when he's got the ball, he's been doubled and tripled when he tries to get into the paint and towards the basket for some close shots. That's led to a lot more kickouts, which means he now either needs the guys to make those shots, and even if they do, now we're still talking about only one assist, like I said, and not even the opportunity to get some easy points at the free throw line. So I really like under for at least two of these three props. Rather than trying to figure out exactly which ones they are, I'm throwing them all together to get under 43.5 PRA for Tatum in Game 5. Another Celtic that we're going with, but we are backing Papa Al to get over 2.5 first quarter points here, plus 124 on DraftKings with a full unit. I would normally say this is a lean and we should wait to see if Kristaps is going to play, because that might impact the amount of minutes that Al gets in the first quarter. But here's the thing, even if Kristaps does play, and even if he, in the unlikely situation that he gets into the first quarter of this game for Kristaps, still going to see Al playing probably 8 to 9 minutes in this first quarter, right? He's gone over in 8 of 12 in the playoffs without Kristaps, 5 of 6 over at home without Kristaps in these playoffs. So playing really well at home, especially, but getting about a minute and a half more in the first quarter without Kristaps in the game than when he isn't. So 8 minutes without Kristaps per game in Q1, 6.5 minutes with Kristaps when he's out there, because Kristaps is still a very good first quarter performer. 2.5 field goal attempts, not awesome for Papa Al, but it has led to 3.3 points per game. He's getting a lot of open looks in that first quarter and is willing to fire away. And I really think he's going to come out strong in this game and really try to make sure that he leads his team to victory so that he can pull his first championship trophy after an illustrious, roughly 19-year career for this man. Came in the league in like 2007 or so. So yeah, about 17, 18 years in the league. Like, really think he's going to come out with something to show here, and that he does not want to go back to Dallas. Like, I can easily see at least 35 minutes in this game for Al. So he should be good at about the 8 minutes in the first quarter, if not a few more, to be honest, because of how well I think he's going to come out playing in this one. So really love the plus money that we're getting here for him to get 3 points, which is what he's averaging, like I said, in these situations without Kristaps. So really feel good about Al Horford having a big game. Going to get him 3 points for plus 124 in Q1. How about a role player for the Mavs, and a role player who has looked awesome in his time on the floor? Dante Exum over 3.5 PR, points and rebounds combined. It's minus 118 on DK. And really, as I was talking about in the opening here, Derrick Jones Jr.'s minutes continue to remain low. Dante Exum's minutes are the things that you see rising in conjunction with that, as he's stealing some of these minutes. He played 8.5 minutes in the first half of this last game. So I don't want to hear that he had 13 minutes just because it was a blowout. He didn't even play in the fourth quarter. So he wasn't playing blowout minutes. He was playing, we still need to keep our foot on the gas minutes, and looked incredible outside of making threes, which he made 2 of them. One of them got called back because of the fact that his foot was on the out of bounds line, but I still think he's good for about 10 plus minutes in this one, and probably a couple 3 attempts, definitely about 3 shot attempts, which should be good for the points. The rebounds are what I love more than anything, but the only prop available is half a rebound for this man, who should definitely be getting that in this game. They've loved what they've seen from him on the boards, on the defensive boards, especially because he is very fast in transition. So similar to how they allow Luka, these Mavs players do, to get rebounds so that he can go out on the break, you've seen Exum actually be in a similar spot here. When he's on the floor, they know how good he is leading a break up at about 6'7" with all the speed in the world. He creates a huge matchup problem in transition for most teams, and I think we'll continue to see that for him in this one. It's all about the minutes for him, though. He's gotten 10 plus minutes in 6 playoff games, gone over this 3.5 PR in 4 of them, right? Now, granted, he's played in a lot of blowouts, but once again, in this series specifically, he's about a plus 10 plus minus in the first half of games when he actually gets out there and gets some minutes. In the finals specifically is that plus minus number for him. So I don't know how J-Kidd can continue to ignore how much better Dante Exum has looked on both sides of the floor over Derrick Jones Jr., who just looks scared to shoot, to be honest, at this point, and his confidence looks completely dwindled. So we're going to take Dante Exum to just take full advantage of that from DJJ, take his minutes, get some boards, and get over this 3.5 points and rebounds combined. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't finally bet on Q2 here and an under at 53.5 points. And that's near even money on FanDuel, minus 102, despite the fact that this has hit every game, rather, the under has in every game of this series. 45.3 points per game in quarter 2 in the finals, right? So I've been really targeting quarter 4 because as you expect things to tighten up a lot in the finals, and it's been a low total. In fact, the only reason we didn't hit that in game 4 was because it was over, right? And we had all of the subs playing at a very fast pace, about 96 pace in the 4th quarter, which is way faster than what it was at. So in the event that there's a blowout again, I'd a little bit worried that could be the case if Boston comes down raining threes, looking to sort of take out their frustrations in game 4 here on the Mavs early in game 5. That could lead to another situation of a lot of backups playing in this 4th quarter. So we're going with Q2, and we can project that there's going to be starters in there. But the thing that really is awesome about this is the game slows down to 87 in terms of the pace. That's in part because quarter 1 has been so fast. It's been the fastest quarter in the series, which is usually the case, but it's also been the highest scoring one. Things then slow down, and you get a lot more bench minutes in quarter 2, as you see about 4.5 bench minutes for the Mavs, about 3 bench minutes for the Celtics, which is the most for the bench, other than the 4th quarter in this series, which has been totally skewed by the fact that it's all bench players versus all bench players. But in Q2, we're seeing some bench players versus starters, which really means guys like Peyton Pritchard, or let's say, even Jaden Hardy, they're not quite as impactful in this quarter here in quarter 2, because there's still plenty of good players on the floor to kind of limit what they want to do. So because of the fact that things go so fast in quarter 1 and go so slow in quarter 2 with not quite the same level of offensive firepower on either side of the ball, love an under 54 points for even money here in Q2 of game 5. And that is all the time that I have for you in this one. Feels really final here, man. Feels like this is going to be the last NBA video for a little bit here on the LYB channel. But do still want to remind you about the Outlier risk-free trial for 7 days. Really easy to get that and get into some Outlier stuff. Also got the Discord running, still free in there. So make sure you jump in there and get all the conversation and angles that we are throwing around. Hoping to have another game. I do really want it, but I am betting on the Celtics to win this one, at least in one of these bets that you saw. So continue to follow along. Still going to be coming back with plenty of WNBA, Summer League, Major League Baseball. Just because it's summer doesn't mean we're slowing down. So I might see you for game 6 in another video. If I don't, we'll be back with plenty of other stuff. And until I do see you then, happy betting.